Thank you for joining us. I'm Deb Novotny, President of the Board of Trustees of Evergreen Cemetery Association. Welcome to this video on Evergreen Cemetery and the historic Gatehouse. In this video, Evergreen Cemetery Superintendent Brian Kennell and historian Tim Smith will take you on a rare tour of the interior of the iconic Gatehouse. They'll show you never-before-seen parts of the building and add some detective work they've done behind the color changes over time to the Gatehouse that offer clarity on necessary preservation work. We hope you enjoy this video.
The Evergreen Cemetery Gatehouse is practical as well as symbolic. Of course, it is the entrance to the city of the dead, but also part of the gatehouse is used as the office of the cemetery, and part of it is used as the home of the caretaker. And to this day, this is the office of Evergreen Cemetery, and that is the home of the caretaker or superintendent. So the original rear of the Evergreen Cemetery Gatehouse is right here. And there are several post-war additions that have been placed onto the gatehouse. But in a November 1863 view, you can see the back of the gatehouse. So for the people who are wondering, it's one of the most asked questions we get here. There is no passageway from one side of the gatehouse to the other. There were these doorways that had steps that led up to them on both sides. There's a famous photograph of two of the Thorne children sitting here on the porch at the steps. And this side of the building was the office for Evergreen Cemetery, and this side was where the Thorne family lived at the time.
Tim, it's been a learning experience for me to witness the preservation of the Gatehouse throughout the decades. And in that 1999 era when Intriri was repointing the building, I was made aware that some of the bricks that were mostly in good shape may need to be resurfaced. And standing at ground level as I was looking up, I never realized that some of the brick had been resurfaced. And this is resurfaced brick that from the ground level you don't know. It just looks like it's the terracotta Gettysburg brick color. But a few years ago, probably around 2022, we were noticing that some of these resurfaced bricks were starting to pop off the hard exterior, which you can see the soft original brick that's attached to it. But what happens, even when you resurface bricks, the brick underneath continues to draw moisture, it continues to break down, and thus your resurfaced bricks become compromised. And what we would do then is we would actually replace the brick with a brick that was close to the original brick as possible. But this was an indicator that the damage throughout the years, from the age, from the sandblasting, possibly from the ivy, that we really needed to address this, because this was only going to continue to happen. So thus the board, upon the recommendation of the gentleman that did the repointing, and also Cy Dietz, who's going to be painting the building, and his crew, that we need to protect that brick and to seal it so that it is properly saved for future generations, and to keep the minimal amount of damage to the brick building. Tim, having lived here since 1976, these bedrooms of the Gatehouse served as the bedrooms for my brothers and sisters. This is where my sister had her bedroom back in 1976. So I eventually had this bedroom spanning between 1979 and 1981. But back at that time, these windows were painted shut, okay? Continuous painting. These windows were not operable. So it wasn't until 2002, the same year that we were dedicating the Women's Memorial, that we wanted to address restoration, rehabilitation to these rooms. So for the first time, I was able to open the upper window, which goes down, and of course the lower windows go up. And people will ask me whether or not any of this is original glass from the battle. I do not think so. It was replaced with glass that was fitting to the time period, the wavy glass, not totally clear. But it was nice that Andy Gross, who did the floors here in the Gatehouse, especially this room, which are hemlock floors. This is the original hemlock flooring that we're standing on, but the windows became operable for the first time, and we chose to restore the color to the time period around turn of the century, 1900. It didn't seem fitting to try to revert back to the time period of the Civil War, which on the opposite side is that light green color, which many of the buildings around the country had that light green color for the woodwork.
When you look at the photographs that were taken of the front of the Gatehouse from Cemetery Hill at the time of the battle, you can see that several of these windows, of course, are shot out. And it's fascinating to me to stand here and look out one of these windows towards Cemetery Hill, knowing that the Thorne family could have looked out this window prior to the battle and possibly during the battle, and of course after the battle when all the death and destruction was out there. And of course I'm drawn to the fact that all these different cameramen took photographs of the front of the Gatehouse from across the street on Cemetery Hill, and that the Thorne family could have seen Alexander Gardner or Matthew Brady and his crew recording these images.
And I often wonder whether there were any soldiers up here the evening of July 2nd, or actually the battle started at 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah, the battle actually here on Cemetery Hill, where the Louisiana Tigers actually charged up the hill, was near dusk. So,
okay.
But it is an interesting concept that there could have possibly been soldiers in each of these windows firing at the Louisiana Tigers over the heads of their fellow soldiers as they came up the hill.
Mm-hmm. This section of flooring was replaced. It's pine. It's pine that's replaced where the original wood stove was. Each room in the Gatehouse had a wood stove, but over time, I'm sure that wood dry rotted from the heat, and that was an area where the wood stove, of course, went through a thimble into the chimney, and that is how they heated the rooms at that time when the Gatehouse was built in 1855. At the time in 1999, when the building was being repointed, we had to take the wreaths off the front of the Gatehouse. And it was my first time to touch one. It was also my first time to lift one. Now, I was really interested in looking at the back of the wreath after multiple paintings at that time to see if there was any color that was lowest to the metal. And unfortunately, there was no other color other than green. Now, whether that's unfortunate or not, but what it led me to believe is that these were painted green at the time of the battle. We have no real true proof. I can't say they were certainly painted green, but most likely from the paint that was on the iron. And it's interesting to hold them to realize how heavy these are. They were quite a bear to carry up the ladder to hang back up. That was my job after the building was repointed. But it's nice, since they're off, for people to be able to touch part of what made the Gatehouse funerary style architecture, which was indicated by the wreaths and the ornamentation in the urn, that you were going from the life to the afterlife through during a funeral procession. And Tim, since you wrote the John Burns book, I will say the one scene I would have liked to seen out here was John Burns' funeral procession being brought on a sleigh through the Gatehouse.
And it's, seeing this ornament in the photographs taken of the Gatehouse, right after the battle, and in the drawings that we have from the newspaper even before the battle, I was always curious how much this piece of, I'd imagine, iron weighs. So let me pick it up and try to get a feel for it. This thing must weigh 30 pounds. Do you have any idea?
I never weighed it. I will have to do that. And I'll let you know as soon, and then we'll have you come out here and do some curls with it.
Yeah, we should weigh it and put the weight underneath of it.
But it's nice to have these off briefly until the building's painted to be able to allow people. I've had some groups come in and they were able to touch it and hold it and have their picture taken with it. It's a nice scene to see that, because a lot of people are thrilled to be able to actually touch the wreath. Tim, an interesting part of writing Beyond the Gatehouse was trying to understand the color scheme of the Gatehouse at the time of the battle, because I was looking for any account from a soldier on the color of the Gatehouse, anything that would help me and help us understand what this building looked like back at 1863. Around that time, I decided I would come up off of the northeast corner of the cornice work and take a sample. And after I took a few samples of the multiple layers of paint, there was white, of course, at the very top, layer upon layer upon layer. When we got down to the wood, the color was almost like a dark chocolate brown. And it made me think, they painted the cornice work chocolate brown? And at that time, I had contacted the Park Service, and lo and behold, they had records actually of what the color of the cornice was to be painted, and it was to be the color of brownstone, which went along with the sample. And so that gave me the color of the cornice work, and then I had to try to figure out what the color of the brick was at the time of the battle.
Hello, I'm Kristen Rice, a member of the Board of Trustees of Evergreen Cemetery. Thank you for joining us on our tour of Evergreen Cemetery and our Gatehouse. The Evergreen Cemetery Board of Trustees have announced a fundraising campaign, the Gatehouse Preservation Project, to restore, preserve, and paint the deteriorating brickwork, to install informational wayside displays for visitors, and create 3 memorial gardens near the Gatehouse entrance. We hope you will consider joining our Gatehouse preservation efforts by making a tax-deductible contribution either online or via mail. No matter the size, your gift is critical to preserving the Gatehouse legacy. With your help, a national treasure will be preserved for future generations.